Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Alignment with Jen podcast. I'm your host, Jen Ditzazy, and I'm super excited for this episode today because we're going to be talking all about the hot girl summer and the habits and the mindset shifts in order to embody the hottest, most magnetic version of you this summer. And I'm going to give you kind of a little challenge that me and some of my really good friends have been doing that I think you are going to absolutely love, and that is going to take your level of love and obsession for your life to a whole new level. My goal is that by the end of this episode, you will feel so in love with yourself, with your life, that you are going into this summer feeling absolutely amazing. So I want to start off with a story about Marilyn Monroe. I love her, and I love starting off with stories about her. I think she's such a model for so many different things that we can learn from. And one of them is this idea that she actually grew up with a very difficult upbringing. Marilyn grew up and she was born named Norma Jean. You've probably heard that. Marilyn actually went through over 12 different foster homes. She was in an orphanage. Her mom was institutionalized at one point. And when you think about who she became, right, this effortlessly magnetic woman who many decades later is remembered as this icon of beauty, of magnetism, of this power, this femininity that she held. And then you look at where she came from and it was completely different. There was a lot of instability. There was a lot of lack of security. There was a lot of change. There was a lot of challenges that she overcame, yet she ultimately rose to this high level of success. It's really interesting to think about that because there's many qualities that we can cultivate in order to tap into and cultivate that magnetic hot girl kind of energy. And when I say hot girl, I'm not talking about the way that you look. I'm sure that you are a hot girl and you are beautiful, but I don't think that's the most interesting or important thing about you. I think it's the mindsets and the energy and the magnetism that we cultivate below that. And so in this episode, I really want to get into those identity shifts because that's ultimately what led Marilyn from where she was, right? She could have chosen an identity of struggle, of challenge, of reliving her past, but she chose this identity of I'm going to rise above that and I'm going to create the kind of life that I wanted. Doesn't mean that she didn't struggle, but it means that she chose a new identity, a new version of herself. And that's really what this whole idea of the hot girl summer is about. It's that I want you to go into this summer feeling so powerful, so magnetic that you are able to draw in the things that you desire. And it can be done in a single moment. It's all about choosing a new identity, choosing a new version of yourself. Ultimately, my goal with this is that you become so embodied, so in love with yourself, so in love with your life that you no longer need breadcrumbs. You no longer accept breadcrumbs. You no longer accept things that are less than what you want. You no longer stay in circumstances or tolerate people that are not right for you, right? You recognize this power and this strength that you have within yourself. And so this is not necessarily about feeling sexy on the outside, but that can totally be part of that, right? I think women, naturally, we love beauty and we want to feel beautiful, and that can be part of it, but it's so much more about how you are feeling on the inside and allowing that to radiate out. So what I want to give you in this episode is basically a framework and a challenge that you can go into this summer with in order to cultivate this hot girl energy, this woman who is effortlessly magnetic, right? Like Marilyn, who could just turn it on, turn it off, and she could attract in the things that she wanted. And that's what I want you to experience this summer. I think a really important point also to mention as we go into this episode is that a lot of people think that really attractive, magnetic, hot girl energy is about the physical appearance, right? It's about what you're wearing. It's about what designer clothes you have on. It's about how you did your hair that day. And all of those things can contribute to it, but if those things are covering up feeling insecure, not feeling good about yourself, then they're not going to be nearly as powerful, right? The true magnetism of a woman can happen when she's wearing sweatpants with her hair pulled in a messy bun, no makeup on, because she feels powerful. She feels magnetic within herself. And that's really what I want you to experience. Okay. And this comes from a few different pieces. And that's really what I want to get into. I want to get into the habits that you can cultivate to really build this hot girl, magnetic, powerful energy within yourself, where you can walk into a room and not say anything and attract in the things that you want. Attract in the experiences, the opportunities, the connections. So the first habit that I want you to get into, and I'm going to kind of weave in the idea of also like the soft girl energy, not soft as in weak, but like soft as in attraction rather than chasing, allowing things to come to you rather than forcing things to happen, because force and doing is a very masculine energy. And not that that's a bad thing, right? We're all a balance of both energies, but there's also this beautiful power of the feminine in order to be able to draw in things that she desires. When I think of a really powerful feminine woman, I think of like a queen on her throne where everything is kind of drawn to her and brought to her. And it doesn't mean that she doesn't go out, get on a horse and ride fiercely, but it means that we have access to both of these powerful forms of creation. And I want this episode to help you kind of lean in to that more feminine aspect. So the first habit is setting the energetic architecture for your day. I just got chills as I said that. I love this. This is something that really changed my life. And it's similar to the idea of a morning routine, but it's different in that it's about the energetic architecture. Sometimes I think morning routines can be about like, do this, do this, do this, do this. And it can be like checking off a list of things, right? I used to have this morning routine that was like 10 different things in it. And truthfully, like looking at it, I felt exhausted because I was like, that doesn't feel fun to me to just check things off a list. But when you view it from this idea of, I'm using the time in the morning to set my energy for the day so that way I can go into the day with my vessel full of what I need. It's about pouring into yourself before you go out into the day and you give. This is setting the foundation for this entire hot girl summer. Okay. So it's deciding what's the frequency that I want to go into this day with, and how can I create space for myself, whether it's 15 minutes, an hour, 2 hours in the morning, where you pour into yourself. And that will look a little bit different for each of us. And to be completely honest, it's going to look a little bit different for you from day to day in your cycle. Okay. And it's allowing yourself to tune into that frequency. I think something that can happen is a lot of the personal development advice is created for men. And we know that men's hormonal cycle is very different, right? It literally looks like a little tiny squiggly line that barely changes throughout the month, versus a woman's has like mountains and valleys and changes a lot. And so sometimes I think what can happen with morning routines is we can get down on ourselves if when I'm in my luteal phase, I don't want to do the same things as when I'm in my follicular phase. And what I like about the idea of an energetic architecture is you are committing to setting your energy for the day, but what that actually looks like can be different. So sometimes it might be a beautiful meditation. Sometimes it might be waking up and going on a walk. Sometimes it might be working out. Right? And it might look similar for you across the month. It's about how it makes you feel. It's about you feeling your best. So that way, when you go into your day, you can pour out, not from a depleted place. And it's also about creating a pause before you go into your day. Because when you pause and you take that time to sit back and say, what do I want to pour into myself? How do I want to feel? What do I want my intention to be for this day? What kind of energy do I want to bring to my work, to my family life, to my dinner with my friends tonight, right? What kind of energy do I want to be? It's about creating intentionality. And what happens is if we wake up and we immediately just start going, we don't have intentionality throughout our day. And energy follows intention. Your intention, what I mean by intention, is your decision for how something is going to be. It's an energetic decision, essentially. And it might be as simple as my intention for today is to be happy, or my intention for today is to be loving. It can be that simple, or it can be my intention is to call in 2 new clients today. Right? It can be whatever feels good and exciting for you. But I highly recommend it feel good and exciting, not depleting and exhausting. It's taking that pause. It's deciding, you know what, each morning I'm going to give myself 30 minutes, an hour, whatever you have available to set your energy for the day and really pour into yourself. So to make this a little more tangible, I'll kind of explain what I do. And again, this does vary throughout the month. There's certain times in the month where for me, the best thing that I can do in the morning is literally lay in bed for a little bit longer, because that is what feels the most nourishing for me. Okay. But then there's sometimes, and I would say 95% of days, I do wake up and I meditate because that's a habit I've been doing for years and it makes me feel like me. It makes me feel really good. It's also how I strengthen my spiritual connection. I don't know if I've mentioned this in other episodes, but we have a spiritual cord that essentially connects us to our higher self. And meditation actually expands that spiritual cord. As that spiritual cord expands, so does our intuition, our ability to receive insights, our ability to receive connection. And when we feel like we are blocked and we're not receiving insights and downloads, it can be that our spiritual cord has kind of shrunk a little bit. So we may need more meditation, more spiritual practice. But that's something that I get way deeper into in my courses, not really on the podcast. Additionally, in this energetic architecture piece, an important part is also not allowing outside influences to come in too early. So getting on your phone and checking your text messages, your email, your social media, because you don't have any control over what's going to be in there. So it can be bad news. It can be something that you don't really want to see. And so it's important that you pour into yourself first before you allow in those outside influences. It's almost like when you pour into yourself, you kind of strengthen yourself, you give yourself this power so that way those things affect you less as you go about your day. So back to what I was saying before, meditation. I'll do a little bit of journaling, and then typically I will either listen to an audio or I will read a book of some spiritual nature, because I find that making that window in the morning connected to my spiritual path is how I set myself up most powerfully for the day. Spirituality and connection in that way is the biggest bang for your buck. When I was in my early 20s, me and my best friend, we hired the same coach, and it was through this coaching program. My friend wanted to grow, her income. She wanted to buy investment properties, all sorts of stuff, right? Very much in the physical. And her coach kind of leaned back and she was like, you know what? The biggest bang for your buck is actually your spiritual practice. That's the lowest hanging fruit. If you start focusing on that, everything else is going to get easier. And that's what I find. The more that I have this time in the morning and really devote to my energetic architecture, the easier everything else in my life begins to flow. And when I don't do that, it doesn't flow as well. So it can be journaling, it can be playing music, it can be really intentionally doing your skincare, right? It's pouring into yourself as best you can, right? This is going to look different at different phases of life. When you have young children, right? Maybe when you first get married, it might look a little bit different. It's going to look different at different phases. Number 2 of this hot girl summer energy is live in the just because energy. This is so insanely liberating. It's this idea that so often we do things because they lead to an end result, right? I'm going to read this book because it's going to help me learn about something that will help with my business or my relationship. Or I'm going to take this class because it's going to lead to X, Y, and Z, right? So much of what we do is for the outcome rather than simply just the pleasure of doing it and the joy of doing it. I have found throughout my own journey that the more that I do things just because they sound freaking fun to me, the more that it leads to something I never would have imagined. Literally signing up to do this podcast in this studio, I didn't have a great reason to do that. I could have continued to do it. I had done some episodes at home. I could have done that, right? I didn't really have a great reason. It didn't make financial sense. I knew it would help my business, but I thought it would be over the long term, right? Typically it takes many years for a podcast to do well. And I didn't have a reason for it, but I wanted to do it because it was really exciting to me and it felt really good. And then it's resulted in great growth for my business, right? Great growth, this amazing community. So many of you message me, it's been such a beautiful blessing in my life. And it really started with just because I wanted to energy. It just felt right. Same with anything in your life. If you're I don't know why, but I really just want to take a paint class to learn how to paint. I don't know why, but there's no reason. There's no logical explanation for it. Do it because it will lead you to something. I've been having this desire to go to Italy. I don't know why. I have no reason to go to Italy, but I decided I'm going to go in August because I just feel that same just because energy. Some part of my soul feels excited about it. And the reason I recommend this to you is because our intuition is not based in logic. So oftentimes our intuition will make sense looking back, but looking forward, it can look very hazy. It can be really hard to connect the dots of the why. And just because energy gets you past your logical mind and it lets you get into that energy of, I just want to do this because it sounds really fun to me and it sounds really exciting to me. And so that's what I want you to do. So I want you to think right now, I want you to think about what is something I can do just because it sounds fun to me. For me, I really want to start surfing. I haven't surfed in a number of years and it just sounds so fun. It just sounds fun. So I just want to do it. So what can you do just because it's fun? Because I guarantee the beauty and the light you will reveal from doing that is going to be way more than you ever expected. And you can do this in small ways as well. Like something I was thinking about this morning is I really like really high-end water. I don't know why, I just really like it. And so I'm just going to buy it just because, right? It doesn't really make logical sense, but I just feel like buying it. Go to the grocery store and buy the beautiful flowers just because. You don't have to rationalize everything. You don't have to make everything make sense. The feminine is not designed to make sense. She's designed to live and flow and allow her desire and her pleasure to guide her. And that's what just because energy can allow you to do. Okay, so habit number 3 is choosing a hot girl summer identity. And it can be a version of you from the past. It can be a version of you that you want to embody. I recommend giving it a name, but it's like your avatar. It's this version of you that you can kind of click on, right? A few episodes ago, I gave this story of Marilyn Monroe and how she was walking down the street and nobody was noticing her, and her friend said to her, or she said to her friend, do you want to see me become Marilyn Monroe? And then she shifts her energy and she steps into this version and everyone starts noticing her. That's what I want you to create for yourself, is this identity where you can turn it on when you want to. Maybe you go out dancing with your friends and you turn on this almost like an alter ego. Okay, it's like Sasha Fierce versus Beyonce. That's her alter ego. We all do it in subtle ways where we have a certain version of us that we take to family dinner, and we have a certain version of us that we take on vacation with our friends. And we have a certain version of us that goes on dates and a certain version of us that exists in relationship, right? And so I want you to think about the version of you that you've always felt the best being. And I want you to encapsulate that into a little identity. And you can take a little bit of time and journal about this. But like for me, I always think back to like my 21-year-old self. I was very reckless and I had so much fun. I wasn't concerned about anything, right? There's aspects of her I will leave behind, but there's aspects of her that I want to cultivate now in my 30s. And I want to bring back that energy of freedom and joy and just because energy. Okay. And so for me, that's my identity, is that 21-year-old Jen. And maybe for you, it's an old version of you, maybe it's a future version of you, but I want you to kind of think about it. Who do you want to bring into that summer, right? It can just simply be like the hot girl version of you, like the hottest version of you who dresses how she wants to dress. She orders what she wants to order off the menu. She speaks to whoever she wants to speak to just because she wants to talk to them. Number 4, and this is really the challenge aspect of this, is it's saying yes to life. It's this version of you. This is what the hot girl is all about. It's about being open to opportunities and experiences. Because sometimes what happens is the reason that we struggle to manifest things is not because we're not getting the opportunities, it's because we are saying no to them. We are cutting them out. We are not allowing them to come to us. We are cutting them off too soon because they don't make logical sense or they don't fit in with what we think our life path is. But the more that you allow your life to unfold in a beautiful way by just saying yes to things. Don't say yes when you really don't want to, right? If it sounds horrible, okay, don't say yes to that. But if it's something that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of nervous about this, but I think saying yes would really, really expand me and so much good can come from it, right? If that upside is really big, then say yes to it, right? It's like that Jim Carrey movie from like a couple decades ago, I think it was, The Yes Man, I think is what it's called, where he just says yes to everything. And his whole life changes because every single time you have a decision where you can say yes or no, you literally have a point where your timeline can completely diverge and you never know what this yes could lead to. So opening yourself up, saying yes to more invitations, saying yes to more of your interest and your impulses, saying yes to trying new things, to your desires, saying yes to life, what life is presenting you with, because life is always presenting you with new opportunities and experiences. And so the more that you allow yourself to say yes, you don't even know where that's going to lead. You don't even know. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be so amazing. Habit 5 is making fun a manifestation practice. And this kind of goes back to the just because energy, but it's actually a little different because it's a prioritization of fun. So we are so great, especially the women that listen to this podcast. So many of you are such high achieving women. You're so intelligent, right? I think everyone that listens to this is probably in this category because it's a pretty niche podcast, but you are dedicated to the things that you want in life. And that's so beautiful. And sometimes, and I only know this from personal experience, sometimes you can lose sight of something that really matters, and that's fun. Fun is such a high vibrational frequency, and it's such a magnetic energy. People want to be around people who are having a good time, right? Life wants to be around people who are having a good time. It's this devotional act. It's this creative act of just enjoying your life, this gift that you have been given in every single moment. And so it's actively prioritizing fun. And it doesn't mean that the things that matter to you aren't prioritized, but how can you make them more fun? And how can you weave in more fun into your life, right? More of that just because I want to do it because it feels good. For me, this is going to look like, I feel like after this episode, I have to go, make sure I make some plans to go surfing because it makes me so happy. I feel like a little kid, like a little puppy splashing in the water. Am I good at it? No. Does that matter? No, because it's about the fun. What for you is just something fun that you want to do. Maybe it's a dance class. Maybe you've been wanting to take salsa. Go get some cute shoes on and go salsa, right? Go enjoy yourself. Life is meant to be enjoyed. The Creator does not want you to suffer. The Creator wants you to have fun. And the more that you allow yourself to weave in fun into your life, the more that you attract in the things that you want. And this one's a little bit subtle, but it's becoming hotter through devotion instead of discipline. So the word discipline is very military. It's very punitive. It doesn't feel great. The word devotion is this devotion, this act, and it's about love. We devote ourselves to things that we really, really love. And so it's moving from trying to achieve your goals through discipline and making yourself do things to devoting yourself to these things. And it can be the exact same action, right? We'll take creating content, for example. You can create content from discipline and you can create content from devotion. Which one do you think is going to have a better experience and also a better result? Devotion, right? Discipline is this energy of I'm going to do it. I'm going to push through, right? It's a very masculine energy. And I don't think it always feels good for the feminine. I think we are much more powerful when we move through devotion. And devotion is I do it because I love it. I show up for what I love because I am simply in love with loving it. It doesn't have to be about the end result. It is about the process because the feminine is very journey oriented. We care about how it feels to get somewhere, right? We don't just care as much about the outcome. Caring just about the outcome and just pushing through is a very masculine quality. And honestly, that's a beautiful quality. But as the feminine, we care about how it feels along the way, right? We're not going to want to do something that feels terrible for months and months and months. And so when you look at your life and you say, how can I cultivate more devotion? And it's really creating more why behind why you do something, right? Every action you take in your business or your work, how can you look at it and say, you know what, why am I doing this? What made me want to do this in the first place? And how can I devote myself? How can I do this through more of the lens of love versus the lens of trying to discipline and make myself grit through it? Right? You're going to feel better. You're going to have way more energy throughout your day, and your result is going to be significantly better when you change how you are showing up for that thing. Let's even talk about working out. right? There's an energy of working out because you want to like make your body be better and you want to make your body be hotter. And then there's an energy of working out of, I'm doing this because I love my body and it feels so dang good to be in my body and have a healthy body and be able to walk and exercise and run and swim whenever I want. And so I'm showing up for this workout because I'm devoted to the health of my body because I love my body. They're very different energies. So notice how you are showing up. Are you showing up to your life through discipline or are you showing up through devotion? And how can you tip the scales more towards devotion? Because you can do the exact same things, but create a very, very different result and a very different frequency. Number 7 is stop waiting to be chosen and begin to choose yourself. The hot girl is not looking for external validation to tell her if she's pretty, smart, worthy, good enough for the things that she wants. She has cultivated that inner strength to just say, you know what? I know that all of the things that I desire are because the universe, the creator wants me to have them, and I know that I'm worthy of them. You're not spending the time waiting for the text, right? Waiting for someone to ask you out, waiting for something fun to come and be invited to. It's not this energy of waiting, it's this energy of deciding and moving. So instead of waiting for the text, you're out there making new connections. You're meeting someone who you don't have to wait for their text. You are planning your own trips or getting your girlfriends to plan trips for you or with you. You are moving from this inner choosing of yourself, of saying, you know what, I matter so much to me that I don't need to wait for anything outside of me to show me that I am enough for the things that I want. So this can look like starting that business that you've been wanting to start or that side project that you've been wanting to start. Choosing to say that your desires are important enough for you to act on. That even though you don't know exactly the how, you're choosing to believe that it's all going to be figured out, because it will. And it's also this energy of not waiting for something outside of you to be happy now. It's not saying, I'll be happy when I have that new job, or I'll be happy when I have that new relationship. It's deciding that I am going to be happy right now simply because I deserve to be happy, because I love myself and I love who I am. And I allow that to be enough. And I allow myself to appreciate all of the gifts that I have in life right now while still expanding into my next level. And final habit, number 8, is romanticizing the season that you are in. So this kind of goes with 7, but it's really being grateful for the moments that you already have, the gifts that you already have. Something I've noticed with my most successful friends, like I have this friend who sold his software company and now he basically, does whatever he wants, and he decided to start a new software company. And we were at dinner this past weekend and he was like, he's like, I feel like I must have been a monk in a past life because I'm so grateful for this life I have. He's like, I feel so blessed. And that is something I see in every single successful person. It is not that he waited to be grateful until he had all the stuff he has. It's that he's been grateful all along the way. And even now when he has all of this stuff and he's still wanting to grow, he's still so grateful for where he is, right? And I believe the reason he has so much is because he is so grateful. And so how can you fall in love with your life exactly where it is now, right? What can you romanticize? Maybe it's going to a cafe, right? And just getting a beautiful latte and enjoying yourself, romanticizing that moment, right? Maybe it's watching Netflix on your couch. How can you romanticize that? With a fuzzy blanket and maybe a little beverage that you make for yourself, but romanticizing and loving your life as it is now is the most magnetic frequency for your next level to land within that life, for where you won't even notice that it has changed because you're already so grateful. Gratitude, this is something Dr. Joe always says, gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. When we are grateful, it's like we create this vessel for all this yummy stuff to fall into it. So I hope that you have loved this episode, and I hope that you will take the challenge of becoming your hottest version of yourself this summer and cultivating these habits. Please follow the show if you have found this helpful, and share this episode with any other women who you think will love it. It has been great to be here with you, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.